Welcome back to part 2 of Life Behind the Scenes of a Psychotherapist, a glimpse into my daily life that nobody else gets. Only on my Patreon page will you be able to see answers to questions like this. So I hope you enjoy it and stay tuned.
So why is an hour appointment only 50 minutes?
That's a good question. A lot of people wonder, I paid for an hour, why don't I get an hour? And so I always tell people, the hour is actually not a full hour. And the reason for that is that, well, number one, we go see somebody in the waiting room, we bring them in, we do the appointment, we walk them back out, and then we have to sit down, finish any note-taking that we need to do. We might have to schedule them for the next appointment, take a payment. There's so many different things. Clean up the room, get pillows back. If it's a play therapy client, a child, we have to clean up the room and get all the materials back. So there are a lot of things that have to be done in between. And so therapy typically is a 50-minute hour. That allows 10 minutes to get everything cleaned up, cushions get put back, get my notepad out for the next session, and then be able to be set. Maybe go to the restroom, get some water, and be set for the next appointment so that we can stay on time. Very often, therapists will run over. We don't know how clients are doing at the end of sessions, so sometimes clients go. It maybe goes an hour. I've even had it go over an hour before, but we really try to keep as timely as we can so that clients can know if they have a 10 o'clock appointment that I'll be ready at 10 o'clock. So the 50-minute hour helps us be able to have all the things tidied up in between. And with child clients, a lot of times it's a 45-minute session because it does take a lot of energy to clean up a playroom after a child's been in there and get it exactly back to where it was before. Good question.
So you mentioned the playroom, so I'm curious about the different rooms you work in with different clients.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things that we have here is we have so many different rooms. My wife and I had a dream of setting up an office that accommodated all different types of treatment. So we've always done play therapy, which is with children, and that's a full playroom. It's not play materials or toys inside of our office. That's actually a dedicated room by itself with its own sink, with its own sandbox, all kinds of things. And we'll give a tour of that at some point so that people can see all the different rooms in here. We also have individual offices, 3 of them that are like this that we're sitting in, where we can see an individual, a couple, a family. They can accommodate many different, more grown-up people because children need to be in the playroom. And then we also have a sand tray room for sand tray therapy, anybody who could benefit from that if we think it'd be a useful tool to use. So we have a sand tray, which is a tray of sand with a bunch of different miniature figurines that people can put in the sand, and it gets analyzed that way. Sand tray can be super useful. And then we also, many years ago, created this really cool tween room. And I realized that young children love the playroom. When they get to be 9 years old to say 13, they don't really like the playroom. It seems too kiddie for them. But then they also didn't like sitting in this office like a grown-up would. So my wife and I just thought, let's get a room that's comfortable for tweens, people who are too old for the playroom but not ready for the office. And so we have a bunch of pillows, bean bags, chairs, games, all kinds of different therapeutic games where we can sit on the floor, hang out, and build relationship with younger people, with adolescents there, in a place where they walk in and say, this is cool, I like this room. And so many of them do, because then it makes them comfortable and it helps them open up. So we've got offices, we've got a sand tray room, a tween room, a playroom, and it really is spacious enough and comfortable enough where we can accommodate almost any need of a client.
So what's the difference between working with a child to a teenager to an adult to couples?
Yeah, they're all very different. So some people specialize in things, like we specialize in working with children, but honestly right now it's less than half of my practice. It used to be more than half of my practice. I work more with parents today and couples and some college students, but it really depends on the client you have. So you need special training to work with young children. You need to be able to learn play therapy. And in order to say you're a play therapist, you have to have a credential of an RPT, a registered play therapist. If you don't, you can do play therapy but not call yourself a play therapist, because it's important to have that training and that supervision to know how to work with young children. And the difference is it's in a playroom and they're not able to think like older people do, so you have to do more talking about what they're playing with, and you have to be able to build relationship with them in a little bit different way through communicating from you to them and really interpreting their play a lot. With teenagers, they can be really tough because sometimes they don't want to be here and they're drug here. And so I try to be able to let teenagers know it's okay. This isn't a place where you're forced to talk. This isn't a place where you're in trouble. And this isn't a place where I'm going to tell you how you're supposed to act or what you need to change about your life. I'm going to understand where you're coming from and give you an outlet so that you can open up when you're comfortable, tell me what's going on in life, and have that person. It's like having that person outside your world that you're comfortable enough to tell everything you need to, and that can help guide and mentor you. And that's a little bit different than leading into adults who typically come to us saying, I'm having trouble at work, or I'm having trouble in my relationship, and I want help to be able to get through that. Can you help me? So they're a little bit more self-guided. And then couples, one of the most challenging, it's couples. They're tough because it's two people who both think one way, and that their way is either right, or that they're frustrated, or they're upset, and there's a lot of finger pointing. Couples are challenging a lot of times because when I get a couple in, the important thing to remember is my client's the couple. It's not one person, the other person, it's the couple. So I don't care as much about each person as I do the couple. If you're in here as a person, my focus is you. And so that's why I want all couples to know that in couples treatment, it's different. It's not about judging and refereeing and who's right, who's wrong. It's about making sure the couple has a chance to grow.
So can you give 3 things about you that clients wouldn't typically know?
Wow. Okay. That's a tough question. 3 things they wouldn't know about me. Probably things that my family and friends would know, that I love golf, I love basketball, I love sport. And, in sports and in some of the clients that I've worked with at my office, sports have been a big thing. And I love competition. I love peak performance things. So sports are a real thing for me. Another thing people would like to know about me, probably that they think was interesting, is that I love chips. I love eating chips. I love food, period. But I love chips. So chips are like happy hour to me. If I go home and I can get some different flavored chips, I am in heaven. I love chips.
One fun fact, I'll just add in really fast. Because of chips, we on your 47th birthday, I think, we got you a box of chips.
I remember that. A whole box of individually packed chips. One last thing about me would be I didn't always not have hair. So there was a day when I was starting out doing this, actually, where I had hair on my head. So that's fallen off since then. And people who knew me back then probably saw a different Tom than they see now. And I can't get it back.
What's the ideal number of clients you could have in a day if you had one?
Ideal number? That's a good question. People ask all the time. Young children think they're the only client that ever comes to me. The children that come in, they're like, am I the only person you see? Period. But the ideal number for me in a day would be 7 people. I'd probably say 6 to 7, but 7 could be ideal. If I could see 2 people have a break, see 3 people have a break, see 2 people, something like that, 7 people in 9 hours, I can do that pretty well. But that comes with a lot of training and experience. For young people, seeing 3 people in a day is a lot. I would like to see 5. I'm okay to see 7, so probably the answer would be 6, honestly. But 7 is not doable. When it gets past 7, it gets to be really hard because it takes a lot of energy each hour to get through it.